Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jordan Hetrick here. And in today's video, I want to help you get started with the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. This powerful action camera is packed with features, so I'm excited to show you those features. I'm also going to show you how to unbox your camera, get it set up, and show you some of my favorite filming tips so you can get out there and actually start capturing some really good footage. I'll also put a link in the video description below for my book for the Ace Pro 2, and that's also got all of the features and settings and inspiration you'll need to learn how to use this camera to capture some amazing imagery. But right now, let's get this camera unboxed so we can get started with the Ace Pro 2. First, let's get the camera out of the box. I'm going to show you what comes in the kit for the Ace Pro 2. And there are actually two different kits available. This is the dual battery kit, but the kit is also available with just a single battery. It is nice to have that extra battery available when you're out there filming, so when you want to keep recording, you can just swap batteries and you don't have to wait for the camera to recharge. So just go ahead and open up the box, and inside you've got the Ace Pro 2 camera right here. This here is the Ace Pro 2, and you can go ahead and remove that protective packaging that's on the camera. There's one on the front lens, on the bottom of the camera, and on the back flip-up screen. If you bought that dual battery bundle, the extra battery will be under the camera right here. But if you just bought the single battery bundle, the battery is actually inside the camera. In this little folder right here, you've got the USB-C cable, and you also have some paperwork, including a quick start guide and some stickers and some other paperwork. It also comes with a standard mount that allows you to mount your Ace Pro 2 to a number of mounts, and I'll show you how that works when we talk about mounting. And this right here is the microphone cover, which I'll show you more about when we do the camera tour. So these are all the basic accessories that come with the Ace Pro 2. Of course, you're going to want to add some more accessories, and I'll show you some of my favorites as we go through this video. I know every time I get a new action camera, I always get excited about the new features, so I want to show you a couple of the new features that you can expect when you're using this camera, just so you can get excited about them too. The Ace Pro 2 has a new 1/1.3 inch sensor that's got a really nice high dynamic range, so you're gonna get some really great shots in those tricky lighting conditions. It also still records in 8K, and a lot of those features that you're gonna love, such as active HDR, and even the night video mode, which I'll show you, is available in 4K at 60 frames per second. So you can do slow motion when you're recording with those really cool features. It's also got 2 processing chips inside the Ace Pro 2, so when you're using the camera, it's gonna be really fast. And also it's gonna really help with those low light shots like at night, just to get rid of that noise and really make just better images in low light. Plus it's got a wider field of view and a closer focal distance, so a lot more of your shots will be in focus even when you're up close, and you can get that super wide perspective for those action shots. And on top of that, it has this windproof microphone here, so if you check it out on the inside, it's got a little foam guard. So you basically have a little foam windscreen on the camera, which is going to really help those audio shots when you're in high wind situations. Plus there are so many more really useful features on the Ace Pro 2 that I'll show you as we go through this video. It's a really fun camera to film with, and I'm excited to show you all of the features as we go through this video. Now let's get the camera set up and activated so you can start using it. If you didn't get a micro SD card yet, the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 does require a micro SD card to store your camera's photo and video files. There isn't any internal storage on the Ace Pro 2, so you definitely need to pick up this card and make sure to get a good one to prevent any camera issues. The SD card goes under this door right here on the left side of the camera. So if you slide down and open up that door, you'll see a slot right there for the micro SD card. Now take the micro SD card with the text just like this and put it into the little slot right there on the camera and push it down with your fingernail until it clicks into place. And it should look just like that when it's all the way flush with the camera. Now grab the USB-C cable that came with your camera and plug it into this port right here next to the micro SD card slot. Plug the other end of the cable into a power source, such as a wall charger or a computer. If you do use a quick charger, you can charge the camera really fast. You can get a full charge in just 47 minutes, but because it's partially charged, it'll charge even faster than that. Once the camera starts charging, this light will come on here. You can press pause on this video while your camera charges. Once the light turns off, your camera is fully charged. You can unplug the USB-C cable from the port here and close this door completely. Make sure that when you close it, it's securely closed so no water gets in there, because that makes sure that your camera is waterproof. Also, since the battery was already installed in the Ace Pro 2, you didn't need to install the battery, but it does go under this door right here. If you just slide that down, the battery is right in there. If you got that 2 battery combo, when your battery runs out, you can just swap it out with a fresh battery and continue recording. If you do open this door up to swap out batteries, make sure that you always close it completely and you don't see any red there at the top of the door. Just make sure that's completely closed so your camera is waterproof. Now that your camera is fully charged, press the power button on the side of the camera to turn your camera on. First, it's just going to ask what language you want to use, so go ahead and select your language. Then it's going to prompt you to connect to the Insta360 app. The first time you use this camera, you have to connect to the Insta360 app on a phone or a tablet to activate the camera and update the firmware. Go ahead and grab your phone. You can download the Insta360 app. It looks just like this. When you open up the app, it should show your camera at the bottom of the screen here, but if it doesn't, go ahead and press that yellow camera icon at the bottom of the screen, and then follow the prompts to connect your camera. Once your camera is connected to the Insta360 app, it's going to prompt you to update the firmware. So go ahead and press pause on this video while you update the camera's firmware, and also activate the camera once that firmware is updated. The camera might power on and off a few times, and you might have to reconnect to the app, but make sure that camera is activated, and then we can move on to the next step of this tour. You can exit out of the Insta360 app for now, and I'll show you how that works when I do the camera tour. Also, I know we're just getting this camera set up, and this video is really going to help you, but I know a lot of you like to have a handy reference in your hands, and I will have the Ace Pro 2 book in paperback and Kindle for any of you who just want to have that on hand anytime you need it. It's really helpful, and I've worked really hard to make it complete for you guys so you just have a thorough knowledge of this camera so you can capture the best footage possible, because that's why I do this, is to help you guys capture amazing footage, and that's my goal, and you guys can do it. Now that your camera is all set up and ready to use, I want to give you a tour around the camera to show you the physical camera and also all the settings and modes on this camera. On the front here, you have a display screen that's going to show your camera settings. It also has this Leica lens on the front, and with that you also get some Leica color profiles, which are really fun to play with for that different kind of artsy look. You've also got a removable lens cover here. If you want to remove that, it's kind of hard to get off, but you can remove it by twisting, pulling it off, and then underneath there you'll see is the actual lens. If you damage this lens cover, you can replace it. And to screw it back on, you just put it at an angle and twist until it's securely in place. Also, just so you know, the camera should not be used in the water without that lens cover on there. On the front of the camera here, you also have this windproof microphone. You can slide that off by sliding it just this way, and it'll come off. And inside there is a little bit of foam. That's really gonna help get better audio in those windy conditions. Now, when you're going in the water, you're supposed to take this foam one off because you don't want that foam to get soaked up with water. If you do forget, you can always just dry it out, but it's gonna affect the audio when you come out of the water. The best thing to do if you're going in the water is to take this wind cover they gave you and put that on there, because that doesn't have any foam on the inside, and it's just gonna protect that microphone from getting hit. But definitely if you're vlogging or filming in the wind, you wanna keep that windproof microphone on there as much as possible. On the bottom of the camera, you have a speaker, and you also have these little mounting latches, which is for magnetic mounting on this standard mount here. So you can just snap it right into place, just like that. But I'll show you more when we talk about mounting your Ace Pro 2. On the top of the camera, you've got the shutter button and the microphone. And on the back of the camera, you have this 2.5-inch flip screen that you can leave either just like this, or if you squeeze these tabs together, you can rotate to multiple different angles depending on how you're filming. So that's really convenient if you have your camera down low, for example, so you can actually see what you're filming even when your camera is at multiple different angles. And it flips up all the way to 180 degrees for that selfie perspective. Now let's power the camera on and take a look at the touchscreen so that I can show you the modes and settings and features available on the Ace Pro 2. If your camera is not already powered on, press the mode button here on the side of the camera and your camera will power on. The first time you turn the camera on, you'll see some prompts showing you some different touchscreen movements. You can just go ahead and do those to get through this, but I'm going to show you those also as we go through this tour. If you want to pay attention to these while you're doing them, you can, but I'll show you these also. First, I'll just show you what all of these icons are here, and then we'll go through some of the different modes and settings. First of all, if you tap on the screen, you can make all of these settings disappear so you can have clear composition. And if you tap on it again, they'll come back. If you tap on the battery icon here, it will also show you a percentage of battery life remaining. Over here is the recording time that's remaining on your SD card in the current mode at the current settings. So when you change those, that time will change also. Over here, it may show some of the key settings depending on which settings you have chosen. Down here is the main mode and also the settings that you have for that mode. This icon here is the clarity zoom feature when you're recording in certain video resolutions. This here shows the field of view, so if you tap on that, you can see the different options for field of view. We'll go through those more when we're choosing our video settings. To change modes, you can either press on the side button here and scroll through a few modes that you've pre-selected, or to see all of the modes, you can swipe on the screen here to pull between the different modes on the camera. And you can see there's a lot of modes available here on the Ace Pro 2, and that's just more power for you guys to create some great footage. If you swipe from this side of the screen, it'll pull up your most recent media, and you can pull back to get rid of that. Swiping down from the top of the screen will show you this dashboard here, and I'll go into that in a minute. Since we're in video mode already, let's talk about some of the video mode settings. So if you pull up from the bottom of the screen or tap the settings there, you can go into the settings dialog. First, let's talk about the resolution and frame rate, since those are two of the most important settings here on the Ace Pro 2. As far as resolution, you can record anywhere from 8K video, which is a really large video file, down to 1080p. And this resolution determines the size of the video that you're recording. So an 8K video is going to be really large, and 4K is also really high resolution. You'll notice when you change the resolution over here, the frame rates that are available will also change. The frame rates are how many frames you record per second, and this just allows for slow motion. So if you want to record some cinematic shots or some super slow motion action shots, you're going to want to use a higher frame rate so that when you edit your footage, you can play it back in slow motion. Anywhere over 30 frames per second can be played back in slow motion, but of course, as you get into higher frame rate, your slow motion can get slower. You'll see when you go to 8K, it only goes up to 30 frames per second. So there's no slow motion available in 8K, and also some of the setting options are not also available on this side here. The 8K footage looks really nice, but without that slow motion and without some of the other settings available, most of the time you'll probably want to record in 4K at 60 frames per second. That's just a good high resolution and a nice frame rate with all of the features available. You'll notice when you're at 4K at 60 frames per second, there's an active HDR feature. When you turn that on, it's going to give you a bigger range of colors in those tricky lighting scenarios. For stabilization, you have a few different stabilization options, but standard is going to give you some really good stabilization. Most of the time, that's all you're going to need. You've also got the aspect ratio, which is the shape of your videos. And for YouTube, well, you're going to want to record in a 16:9 aspect ratio, but there's also 4:3, which is a taller frame, so you can get more of the top and bottom in your shot, and this cinematic 2.35:1 aspect ratio. I'm just going to go back to the 16:9 aspect ratio for now because that's the most commonly used one. And once you've chosen those settings, you can swipe down to go back to the main recording screen. Another great feature on the Ace Pro 2 is called Clarity Zoom. And if you want to zoom in on your shots, you can do it either before you start recording or while you're recording. You can either double tap on the screen or tap this 1x icon here, and that's going to zoom in 2 times on your video so you can get a closer perspective of what you're viewing, which is a really nice feature for an action camera because they have such wide angle lenses, which is really what they're made for. But this just kind of makes it more versatile. Because the Ace Pro 2 has that 8K sensor, you're not actually losing any resolution and you can get that tighter perspective. Before you start recording, you might also want to change your field of view, which is right here. So if you tap on Mega, then you can change through the different field of views. So this basically changes the perspective of what you're going to see through your lens. From the widest perspective, which is action, it's going to be a really wide field of view with some fisheye, all the way down to the linear perspective. The linear perspective is going to give you straighter lines, so you won't have such a curved horizon. Also, if you change settings to 4K at 30 frames per second or lower, and tap on the lens icon here, you're going to have a couple other options, which include a 45-degree horizon lock. So if you rotate your camera up to 45 degrees, that horizon will stay level. There's also a 360 horizon lock here, but you'll see it crops in a bit more on the image. But then you can start recording, you can rotate your camera a full 360 degrees, and the footage will stay level. So that's a really great feature that's available in the camera here on the Ace Pro 2. If you want to change some of the key settings over here, such as the color profiles or use log color, and you can also do some manual settings here, which are really nice. If you know what you're doing and you want to change the shutter speed or the ISO, for example, you can really have a big impact on your footage by doing that. But right now, let's just go back to the audio settings and go back to the main recording screen. Since you guys are watching my beginner's guide and you're probably just starting out, let me give you some quick beginner settings to start with. So just start with active HDR turned on, standard stabilization, and 4K at 60 frames per second. So you can make your screen match just like that. And I recommend you just start with a mega field of view because it's got a nice wide perspective. And that's going to be a good setting for you to start with. One other thing that I want you to change before you start recording is to pull down from the top of the screen and go over to the settings icon right here. Tap that and scroll up to where it says image settings, and tap on that. And where it says bitrate, go ahead and tap on high bitrate. That's going to give you larger files, but it's also going to give you better quality video. So I don't want you to get out there and record any low quality videos, so I recommend you change that first. And then we can go back to the main recording screen. And now you're ready to start recording. Once you've chosen your settings, you can start recording by pressing the shutter button here, and your camera is going to record a video. And like I said, you can use that clarity zoom while you're recording. You can just tap on the icon there, or you can double tap on the screen. To stop recording, press the shutter button quickly and your camera will stop recording. There's also a couple other ways to record on the Ace Pro 2, which are pretty convenient. So if you start recording a video, you can also pause that video and start recording it again in another location. So if you just press here, this is going to pause that current video. You can see it's paused, you can move to another scene, and then you can start recording again by pressing the shutter button. And it'll continue recording on that same file. Once you start using pause recording, when you want to stop recording, you need to press this icon here on the screen, and that'll stop recording that current file. The other way of recording that can confuse people is when you start recording and you want to stop recording. If you don't press quickly, you'll actually go into a feature called cancel recording. So if you hold down here, you can actually cancel the current video. It won't be saved to your camera's micro SD card, and it's a great way to not have files that you don't want stored on your camera. So I just erased that file before it was even saved to the camera. Now that we've covered some of the main settings for video mode, let's talk about some of the other exciting modes available on the Ace Pro 2, since there's so many things you can do with this camera. If you swipe over on the screen here, you can go to pure video mode, and this is where you can record really nice low light scenes. You'll definitely want to tap into pure video mode for those low light scenes, just to get the best noise reduction and image quality possible in those low light scenes. A couple different options here, and you can record in up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which is really unusual for low light recording, since typically you use a lower frame rate. But when you do go to that 4K at 30 frames per second, you've got a really special feature, which is Pure Video Plus, and that's going to give you the best image quality in those low light scenes. Next over, you've got free frame video, which allows you to reframe your video after you've recorded it. You can see this grid here, and it kind of shows what's going to be recorded in the frame. When you bring it into one of Insta360's apps, you can actually reframe the field of view and also the aspect ratio, the shape that you're using. You can also get horizon lock and leveling at 4K at 60 frames per second when you use this mode here. The next mode is time shift, which allows you to capture some moving hyperlapses. So it does have stabilization. You can actually carry your camera while you film these, and it's going to speed things up. So it's a really cool look you can add to your videos. Then there's time lapse, which is used for your standard nature time lapses or city time lapses where you want to speed time up, and you can get some really nice shots using this mode. You've also got the dash cam setting if you're going to be using this in your car. Plus you've got loop recording, so you can record just a set amount of time and then it will record over itself once it reaches that set time. Slow motion mode can be used to record slow motion videos without any audio. You've got star lapse mode to record at night. If you want to do those night lapses, you'll see it's overexposed because this is really just for recording those star lapses and those night scenes when it's really dark out. Then you've got burst photo to take a quick burst of photos. Interval mode, so you can just continuously take photos. Photo mode, where you can take those nice high quality photos, and you've got some settings here. You can go up to 50 megapixel photos in here and get some really nice photos straight out of the Ace Pro 2. You can also choose some presets. If you swipe on the screen here and you tap on preset, there's some preset video options, and you can also go ahead and save your own. You might want to add some of those once you decide on your favorites. Also, there's so many modes on this camera that I could go into each one of these modes for a long time and explain them, which is why I wrote a book for you guys, because then I can actually explain what all these modes are and how to get the best shots using each of these modes. There's also tons of other features available. If you swipe down from the screen here, this camera is just loaded with features. I'll show you some of the most important settings here, such as gesture control. I'll turn on gesture control and show you. You can actually start and stop recording with a simple gesture. If you hold your palm up, you can start recording a video. You can also stop recording by holding your palm up. There's also this AI highlights, which will go through your videos and analyze them and pull out what it thinks are the highlights of your videos. So that's a quick way to get some short clips out of those longer clips you're recording. We've also got pre-recording, endurance mode, which will save you battery life but reduce some of the features available. Then you've got this underwater mode here that's going to automatically put your camera into some better settings for underwater and lock that lens for you. So you can just enable that if you're going underwater. It's going to help you get better underwater footage. Then you've got screen lock for locking your screen when you go underwater. You've also got some other standard settings such as voice control. You've got the microphone settings, so you can put that on a voice enhancement. It's going to give you some really nice audio straight out of the camera. Then there's some other settings in here, such as where we change the high bitrate under the image settings. You can also format your micro SD card right here. So those are some other key settings you could use. But there's just tons of settings available on this camera. It's really powerful. I'm going to swipe up to go out of that menu. When you want to look at the videos and photos that you've already recorded, you can swipe over from the screen here. That's going to bring up your most recent media. You can also tap on this grid icon. It's going to show you thumbnails of all the media you have on your micro SD card. When you want to watch a video, you can just tap on it, and you can see that video there on the screen. The prompts are also showing you can hold down to play it and fast forward. While it's playing, you can fast forward like that. You can also pinch and zoom on the screen to zoom in a little bit, and you can move the video around to zoom in and make sure you're getting the quality video that you want to get. Finally, somebody added this to an action camera. I'm really excited that's on here on the Ace Pro 2. If you want to delete the file, you just tap the delete icon. You can also create a little highlight out of it by tapping this icon. You can just take a little piece of your video if it's a longer video, and that'll be available separately for you to use. I'm going to go back to the main recording screen here. When you're finished recording, hold down on the power button here and your camera will power off. You can also use the Insta360 app to see a live view through your camera and change all of the settings on your camera. Since you've connected before, just make sure your camera is powered on and open up the Insta360 app. It should prompt you to connect down here, but if you don't see the prompt, all you need to do is tap on this icon right here, and it's going to prompt you to connect to the camera. Once the app's connected, you can see through the camera's lens, and you can see you can also change all of the settings and different modes right down here just by swiping sideways. You can go to all the different modes available on the Ace Pro 2. All the different setting options are available around the screen here, such as the resolution up here and the frame rate and the field of view. And when you're ready to start recording, all you need to do is press the shutter button here and the camera will start recording. It's a great way to see through your camera's lens when your camera's at an angle you can't see, or just when you want to control it remotely. When you want to stop recording, just press the stop button and the video will stop recording and save over to your camera's micro SD card. Next, I want to show you guys some of my favorite tips and tricks for one of the most fun parts of using an action camera like the Ace Pro 2, and that is mounting the camera. Mounting the camera is where you can get really creative and you're able to capture some unique angles and really take advantage of the small size of an action camera like the Ace Pro 2. The Ace Pro 2 comes with a really simple mounting idea, and that is just a quick release adapter with a magnet here at the base of the camera. To mount your camera, all you need to do is take that standard mount that came with your Ace Pro 2 and look for the little camera icon. That's going to match the front of the camera here. Then to snap the camera in place, you'll feel it kind of pull when you get close, and make sure it clicks on both sides of the camera. If just one of these sides comes loose, your camera can come loose, so you want to make sure that both of these are clicked fully into place and that you always test it before you take it out when it's mounted. To test it, all you need to do is pull on it and make sure it's nice and secure. Then when you want to attach this to a mount, all you need to do is take these two little mounting fingers here and slide it into a 3-prong adapter like this, and then you can mount your camera. Line up the holes, insert the thumb screw, and screw it into place. And before you screw it in really tightly, you'll want to adjust your angle. For example, if you want to flip your camera towards you on a selfie stick like that, you just want to get the right angle and then fully tighten it in place. And now your camera won't move when it's on that mount. If you're out filming in extreme sports, you want to leave the flip screen down just like this so it's nice and secure. But if you're in a more casual environment, you can flip the screen up. Whatever you're doing, depending on the angle and what your activity is, you can adjust the screen accordingly. Also, the Ace Pro 2 is waterproof to 12 meters or 39 feet, just like this. So as long as those side doors are closed, you can take the camera in the water. Also, it's important to know that the Ace Pro 2 does not float. So if you're going in the water, use a floating handle or a floaty around the camera just to make sure that the camera will float in case it gets off your mount. You don't want to lose your camera if it sinks down to the bottom of the ocean or a lake. If you want to mount your Ace Pro 2 vertically, you can use this vertical mount here and snap your camera onto it just like that. Then this has little mounting latches here, and you can just snap it onto a mount just like you would the actual camera. And now the Ace Pro 2 is mounted vertically. And you can still flip out the screen just like that to get a nice vertical view of what you're shooting. There are tons of ways to mount your camera, such as a handheld pole where you can extend the camera away from you to get more of a distance and get a different angle, or a POV shot where your camera is mounted to you somewhere, like on the front of a helmet or on your chest, for example. Or you can just set it down somewhere really creative for a unique perspective that you wouldn't really be able to capture with any other camera. And of course, that's one of the many things that I have inspiration for in my Ace Pro 2 book, so be sure to pick up a copy for yourself. Now that I've showed you around the settings and the modes and how to mount your camera, we've got your camera all ready to go. Go out there and film a few clips so that we can come back and transfer them over to your phone or a tablet or a computer. I just want to give you a couple of quick filming tips before you go out there and film. First of all, make sure you choose your settings right. We talked about those in the camera tour. Second, take advantage of that flip screen. So if you've got a low angle, for example, flip that screen up so you can see what you're filming, and it'll really help you compose those shots. Also, be sure to hold your camera steady, because even with the great stabilization on this camera, a steady hand is going to create those good shots. Now get out there and film, and when we come back, I'll help you transfer your footage. After you've captured some footage, Insta360 has some really convenient tools for getting your footage over to your phone, tablet, or computer. If you want to transfer your files over to a computer, all you need to do is plug in the USB-C cable to your camera and connect it to a computer. Power your camera on, select UDisc mode, and then your camera is going to be seen as an external storage device, so you can just drag your files right over to your computer. Or you can also import them through Insta360 Studio, and there's some fun editing tools in there you can play with to edit your footage. To transfer your files over to a phone or a tablet using the Insta360 app, just make sure that your camera is powered on first. And then if the camera doesn't automatically connect, you can just tap on Album here, and it should show your camera. If you don't see your camera, you can tap on this little icon right here, and it's going to prompt you to connect. Once your camera is connected, you can see thumbnails of all the files that are stored on your camera's micro SD card. To look at one of the images, all you need to do is tap on that thumbnail, and it's going to open up. You can tap on the screen here to pause it or to play it. Then you'll see there's a bunch of tools here to edit this individual clip. For example, you can trim the clip to make it shorter and just select the portion of the clip that you actually want to work with. Then if you tap on this icon here, you can go in the editing tools, You can adjust the speed, for example, if you tap on this and you record it at a slow motion frame rate. It's going to look choppy on the screen, but once you export it, you'll see the smooth slow motion. Then you can also affect the look, the colors, a lot of different settings here on your footage. Once you're done with the changes, you can either tap on this download icon to save it to the Insta360 library, or if you want to export the file, you can go up here to the export icon, choose your settings, and then export the file, and it'll save it to your phone's camera roll. If you want to make multi-clip edits, you can tap on this little edit icon right here, and there's a lot of editing tools within the Insta360 app to make some nice little videos. There's auto editing, or there's some preset templates you can use to make some nice little videos right here in the Insta360 app. I hope I gave you guys a lot of help in this video. Thank you so much for watching and for all of your support. If you haven't picked up the book, grab a copy. There's a link in the video description below. Or if you still need to pick up the camera, I'll put a link there also. Thank you guys so much and have fun out there filming.